Breaks, pauses, intermissions, we all get the gist. You don't need some person on the internet to explain what these things entail. However,
I got a bone to pick.
some of y'all out there have forgotten the importance of intermissions. Specifically when it comes to the theatrical experience in movie theaters, or cinema as we snobs like to call it. I wanted to stay silent on this, but with films like Avatar: The Way of Water and Babylon flopping around their big-ass runtimes, I just can't help myself. Hell, those films aren't even the biggest offenders. In 2019, Martin Scorsese's The Irishman was 3 hours and 29 minutes long and had no intermission. I remember people at the time were breaking up that movie as if it was a show because they were begging for a break. Regardless of the quality of these films, something is going on here, and I wanted to take the liberty to explain why we need to bring back intermissions for longer form cinema. Unlike today's topic, I'm going to try and keep this one brief, so strap in. Okay, sometimes creators get their heads a little too far up their own butts for the sake of their art. I should know, cause technically speaking I am a creator. With that said, there is a balancing act that needs to be performed when bringing your creation to life. The captain needs to take into consideration of their passengers, so to speak.
Keep going. You're good. You're good. You're good. And stop. Don't worry, Captain. We'll buff out those scratches.
Believe it or not, but the people watching your movies are, well, people. Let's be real here, looking into the lens of the truest movie theater experience, your audience is going to buy snacks or smuggle them in. In fact, I'd argue it goes hand in hand with going to the movies. If I'm going to see Barbie in theaters, you're damn right I'm going to buy some popcorn and soda. Look at me! I'm a fat fucking bear! Of course I'm gonna eat and drink while I watch that masterpiece. And wouldn't you know, that eating and drinking is going to cause people to need to use the restroom. It's happened to me, it's happened to you, and it's happened to everyone. How many times have you gone to use the restroom and as quick as you thought you were, it turns out that you still missed a crucial part of the film? It's annoying even if you didn't miss a big part of the film. We all pay money to enjoy these films in a communal setting. Leaving to use the bathroom is being cheated out of some of that experience. You're losing money every second you're in the bathroom stall. The movie is punishing you for being human, and that is baffling to me. I can already tell that some of you are thinking to yourselves, what about the purity of the film? Breaking it up into halves would ruin the pacing and make the experience much worse. And to that I say, here's the deal. Some people would have you believe that adding a 15-minute or however long intermission for the audience would ruin the flow of the film. Now, I'm not an expert on this subject, but hey, most YouTubers aren't either, so let me throw my hat in the ring. Intermissions can allow for moments of suspense to act as brief cliffhangers for the audience. Intermissions can allow for moments of calmness to act as an easing transition to the next act of the film. Intermissions are a device, just like any other tool in the filmmaker's tool belt. As I stated before, cinema is a communal experience. It is ingrained to the art form, and it's why many directors fight for its continuation.
You could do anything in the world you want that night, but you decide to go to see a film, one film in particular, and you go to see it, and maybe you're on your own, maybe it's in the afternoon, or maybe it's with your date or your wife or whoever, and you go and see it, and you buy a ticket, and you sit down, and you have an experience, and you have an experience with a bunch of strangers. And at that moment, once the movie gets going, once the lights are down, you become a collective.
Imagine coming out of a crazy part of the film or a neat break-off and sharing a moment of levity with other members of the audience. Oh, that part was so cool, I wonder how they're gonna deal with this character. Is he actually dead? What do you think? An intermission can bring your audience together and enthrall them even more into your story. Also, I don't want to hear any of you state that the placing of the intermission would be a problem either. You're telling me that in your close to 3-hour movie, or even longer potentially, that there isn't a single spot to have a moment of reflection? Personally, I find that hard to believe. I can't name a single piece of cinema that is full throttle like that from beginning to end. Even the best long movies that have come out in the last decade have moments where there could be an intermission. Heck, some directors like Quentin Tarantino have parts in their films and could easily be divided in that way. Regardless, it just seems like no risk and all reward on the director's end, or the theater's end depending on which way you slice it. And you know how I know this? Other art forms have been doing this for years. so many different art forms that involve storytelling use intermissions or an equivalent idea. Just by function alone, television shows have been building compelling storylines around them for years in the form of commercial breaks. Not to mention continuing storylines that have been broken up into 30-minute or hour-long chunks while still holding the audience's attention for days or weeks at a time. The pacing isn't ruined in between episodes, at least in good shows, and those periods of waiting are much longer than the intermissions we're talking about. As for video games, streaming, heck even music, you may think at first that they don't have anything of the sorts. But dear viewer, these forms of content have the ultimate version of intermissions: the pause button. You, the viewer, have control on the pacing you want to take the story. You don't need to worry about any pesky person in Hollywood or some sweaty guy working the projector to tell you when you can go to use the bathroom. You're a big boy and you can do big boy things. Wait, don't take that audio clip out of context. And if you ignore all of that jazz just by virtue of it being different art forms, then I wouldn't blame you. I get it, different things function differently, and such division is what makes us not have a single way of consuming stories. Fair enough, but let me tell you something. Movies have had this right before. I don't know if you guys know this, but back in the wee olden days, there was this thing called plays. It was like movies, but IRL. Plays, in all of their varieties, recognized that the audience was human, and they even had a little term for it. In tandem with this, they also used intermissions as a way of driving audience discussion while simultaneously allowing for setup backstage. That hypothetical situation I described earlier is exactly what plays used intermissions for. Even to this very day, intermissions in plays are still used frequently without fail or backlash. We had this right before, why did we get rid of it? Are you telling me that people from the 1910s had more common sense than us folks in the modern day? Most people didn't even believe in germs back then. They didn't even believe in germs, but they knew shitting themselves in the seat while watching the Lilith Demino was not a good idea. Look, all of these things seem small, but they are contributing to a larger problem in cinema. Movies are getting longer each passing year. Those 1 hour and 30-minute action movies are slowly dying off. You're lucky to get that runtime with some animated films. Keeping that in mind, the advent of streaming culture has made convenience more of a priority than the cinematic experience. I don't think this came out of nowhere, but rather I think this is a process that has just slowly been building over time. Cinema is dying, and a lot of people smarter than me see the writing on the wall. Turns out, when you give people the option, they are going to pick the one that is cheaper and doesn't punish you for having a potty break. I am not equipped to get into the financial discussion of that statement I just made, but if you bring back intermissions for those longer movies, I guarantee you will see an uptick in audience attendance across the board. Don't take that as a flat-out solution for everything though, it's just a piece of the puzzle after all. But James Cameron, if you are listening, please for the love of God put an intermission or two into Avatar 3. Please don't make me get kicked out of another movie theater again. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and hey, it's the beginning of Bear Bites Season 2! I know this isn't the big video that I promised you guys, but hey, we're still working on it and hopefully we'll get it out soon. I also want to say to check the description below for the credits of the video. Check out these people. Bear Bites would not be a thing without these people. Like, subscribe, comment down below what you think about intermissions. I would love to hear what you guys think, but until next time, John A.